Hi guys, it's Dr. D here. Instead of studying chemistry as a separate topic of biology, let's take a look at the relevance of chemistry in our daily lives. This will give you relevance to the material that you're being asked to learn or remember, and relevance helps to build long-term memories. The reference points that I've referred to in these videos are in relationship to relevance. How is the piece of information that you are needing to memorize relevant to how the body is functioning or not at a macroscopic and microscopic level? So let us look at the cellular level to bring relevance to the chemical concepts in Chapter 2. A cell is simply a container for the organelles that carry out the life functions of the cell and ultimately for the entire organism. The cell membrane forms the boundary of the container and chooses what it allows to happen on the inside of the cell. Ultimately, it is the cell membrane and not the nucleus that is the control center of the cell. The function of a cell will determine its shape and which organelles predominate. It is incumbent upon you to understand how cells work and what makes cells different from each other. For example, let's take a red blood cell and a heart muscle cell. Both cells are part of the cardiovascular system, but what they look like and what they do could not be more different from each other. Most cells have a primary function that they perform for the majority of their lives, and that function will determine what the cells look like. Now back to the cell membrane. This membrane separates the internal aspect of the cell from its environment and maintains the composition of the internal environment by selectively allowing only certain material to traverse its boundaries. Water is a solvent in both the internal and external compartments of the cell. It has special properties that allow certain materials to be dissolved in it while others are not. Water solubility comes from the nature of the special polar covalent bonds that hold the oxygen and hydrogen atoms together. This special bond allows for a second weaker bond called a hydrogen bond. The hydrogen bonds and the polar covalent bonds of water is what gives water the unique properties that allow it to sustain life. Ions, which come about through ionic bonding, dissolve in the water in the various compartments in and around the cell. The concentrations of these dissolved substances is so critical to the preservation of the cells that these ions are pumped continuously through these compartments. This requires a huge amount of cellular energy in the form of ATP. ATP is regenerated on a continual basis through the breakdown of macromolecules into glucose, which is broken down further. The reactions that would normally take an enormous amount of time are accomplished in a fraction of the time by enzymes. Enzymatically controlled reactions are one of the functions of the proteins of the cells. These metabolic reactions, including synthesis reactions, require energy and water, and the heat generated by these reactions is absorbed by the water. So you can see how important water is and why its unique properties are owed a debt of gratitude. Bringing our attention yet again back to the cell membrane, we can see the structure of the membrane is mainly lipid and protein. The thousands of pumps and receptors in the membrane are different types of proteins. These proteins are produced in the cell from a DNA template that is converted to RNA, and it is from this RNA that the protein is synthesized. And which proteins are synthesized determines the function of the cell. The information just outside the cell is monitored by the cell membrane, and that information is brought into the cell to determine which genes are turned on. This is what ultimately determines the activity of the cell at each moment. Enzymes, along with all proteins, work well within a narrow range of environmental factors, such as pH and temperature. These proteins are so sensitive to pH changes that the cells have special buffer systems to prevent any large deviations. Each cell, along with the organelles, is bathed in a sea of dissolved and undissolved particles, the concentrations of which are very critical to the health of the cell. The understanding of this dynamic is very important to the understanding of health. And all the cells within the organ systems of the body work together to maintain this delicate balance of water and solutes for the maintenance of life. As you move through your daily activities, eating, drinking, working, sweating, crying, urinating, defecating, and so on, this balance is being kept at an astoundingly precise level. Take a moment to thank your cells for the job they perform, and the next time they cry out at you because they have been abused, ask them what they need instead of getting angry at them. You are an awesome creation of miraculous proportion. Respect your body and it will take care of you. So you might be wondering why I have taken you on what feels like a circular and redundant journey through the cell. The best learning is nonlinear. Bring yourself back around to the basic core concepts often. These are the concepts that you will build the more complex models upon. Revisit chemistry with new eyes. As you read through the pages of Chapter 2, look at chemistry from the point of view of the cell and draw on that relevance to help you build the long-term memories that will take you through this course and beyond.